Hey, nice to see you too.
How are you doing? How's life in
Uh,
Ohio?
it is good. It is good. It's finally getting warm here in Ohio. It's been a rough winter.
Yeah? What about you guys' gym? Is it open again?
Yes, we opened on Tuesday, so it's been great to get back to our community there and get back to some kind of normal.
I guess so. How was it without coaching for you?
Yeah, it was. The quarantine was like nothing I've ever seen before. I mean, for me, I'm lucky enough to have the equipment I need to train here, but I really just miss the human interaction and just being able to be around people and missing in my day just it felt incomplete.
Yeah, same here. I can't imagine that. We're allowed to open now on Tuesday again, so we're really looking forward to it.
Amazing. Congratulations
Mhm.
to you guys
Yeah,
too.
great. So, people, for all of you guys who don't know Scott so far, to give you guys a refresh on who we're interviewing today, Scott is a absolute CrossFit legend. He is a remarkable and unique athlete. He has been to the CrossFit Games since 2012. From there on, straight in a row, making it 8 times. Scott, that's amazing. That's unique.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And for the people who don't know, his worst appearance or place at the games was 11th, and but besides that, he was always in the range before five. So you guys see, he's a great athlete. Besides being an athlete, he's also a business owner and is soon to become dad.
That's right. Soon to be dad. I think that's the one I'm most proud about.
Scott, before we or when I prepared this interview, I looked at your statistics on the CrossFit Games website, and there was a description about you, which I want to start the first question of our interview with.
Yeah.
The quote was, "Panchik is known for his mental fortitude, always believing he can win while remaining unruffled by a setback."
That's a good description. I didn't write that, but it's a good description.
It's great having something like that on the internet, huh?
I would say so. Yeah, I like that.
And that brings me to my first question then,
Yeah.
or members also asked, what was your greatest failure in sports? And talking about this, how did you cope with that?
Yeah, so I would say my greatest failure in sports was I played college football, and I ended up blowing out my ACL, MCL, and meniscus. Had planned to, you know, play in the national championship game. Our team was a contender year after year that I was there, and it was finally like my year to start. And I had a pretty good season leading up to playoffs. And second round of playoffs, I completely blew out my knee and was unable to continue. My team went on, and we ended up losing in the national championship. So I would say that was definitely up there. And then honestly, just not being on the podium year after year has always been hard, and it keeps me hungry and keeps me coming back for more. But that's definitely been something that kind of always weighed on me. But I think in that same moment, I think if I would have went to the CrossFit Games my first year and won the CrossFit Games, I might not have came back. I don't know. It's just like it's crazy how like things happen for a reason, and they push you and drive you to be the person that you're supposed to be.
And how did that occur, that back in the days when you were college running back in football, that you transformed from this setback, from this injury, to becoming such a great athlete in the sport of CrossFit?
Yeah, so I went to school to be a health and phys ed teacher, and that was my senior year. I had another year of eligibility, and for teaching, we have to go actually 5 years instead of four. So I came back and tried to rehab my knee and get back, but I ended up re-tearing my ACL in training camp that year and didn't get to play my fifth year of college. So I focused on my education, had surgery, rehab, And CrossFit had always been something that I was working just kind of as my training program. I really enjoyed the methodology of it, and it interested me with all the different movements, and it made training exciting again, where training was always kind of boring, and it was like, chest and tries on Monday, leg day on Wednesday, and you just had all these days, and I just never understood why we would isolate movements when in a football game you're using every muscle every day. So I got back into CrossFit as I was rehabbing my knee, and just kind of used it as a form of rehab. It was also something that I think helped me mentally and emotionally to get through that time of rehab and that time away from my team. And after I graduated from college, I joined a CrossFit gym as I had moved to Ohio away from my family, and I was living on my own, and that gym became my home away from home. And I think that, that community, that camaraderie was something that was always missing in my life. And it filled that void with me not having my family or my teammates around. And I was teaching and doing all those things at that point in my life. And each month of that first year living on my own, I was getting better and better at CrossFit, and the 2012 Open came along, and I was like, well, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring here and see how I do. And it turned out that I was pretty good compared to the other people that were competing at the time, qualified for regionals, and it just kept getting better from there.
Yeah, I think your first CrossFit appearance that was at the games with the fourth place. Am I right on that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually barely got in that year. I was in the Central East, and it was loaded with athletes that had been to the games. Rich Froning, Graham Holmberg, Nick Uranker, Dan Bailey. I mean, there was a huge list of these incredible athletes, and we had 2 games champions, so they took an extra person that year, and it ended up being me. So I got the final spot to go to the games, and then ended up, like, those 2-3 months leading up, I got a lot better and ended up taking 4th overall at the games, which was a pretty cool. Probably one of my, I think probably one of my biggest accomplishments in the sport was just that first year, and it really kind of set the tone for me wanting to come back and wanting to do it again.
And talking about your setback from the knee injury back in your football days, and finding
Yep.
a new sport with CrossFit, kind of also being a therapy for that. From looking back to this point of view to the point where you're now, on those 10 to 15 years or 10 years, how did you develop your mindset to this point where you're today?
Yeah, so one of the sports I played growing up was wrestling, and I think that sport really taught me a lot about how to handle adversity, how to win, and how to lose. And I think, a lot of kids don't really learn that very often. Everybody gets a trophy, and it's fun, but like wrestling is hard, and it was very personal, and it was hard not, like, when you lose, it's like hard not to take it personal, because it's no one's fault. The coach didn't call the wrong play. You can't blame your teammates. It was you and another man on the mat, and someone wins and someone loses. So I think that sport taught me how to be tough mentally and physically. And then just I was always that kid that, like, just seemed to always get hurt playing sports, but I would train so hard for them. And I found out that I think I actually loved training for sports almost more than I loved playing them. And I think just like building that mentality early on, and when I was younger, really carried over to the sports that I played later in life, and then in CrossFit in general, with it becoming a sport later in my life. And I just remember someone telling me once when I was young, is like, most people quit right before they succeed. Like, right before something great happens, most people will quit. And I just never wanted that to be me. So, I had a lot of really great coaches and people around me that, pushed me in that way.
And how did you overcome that barrier, saying or being in a state where you're quit before you succeed. How did you overcome this obstacle?
So when I blew out my knee, I was not in a good place in college, and it's very easy to surround yourself with people that maybe aren't as positive as they need to be, the people that you need to surround yourself with. And I've found that you need to surround yourself with people that believe in you and have big goals themselves, because I think you become almost the sum of the people that you spend the most time with, and you almost become like them. So when you look at that group of people that you're spending all this time with, like, are they having a good impact on your life? Are they pushing you to be better, or are they kind of dragging you down and pulling you down and away from your goals and your dreams and your aspirations? So, college, it's easy because a lot of people are, drinking, partying, going out and doing those things. And once I got out of college, I felt like I got into this CrossFit community where, people were, pushing to become a better version of themselves in the gym, whether they wanted to be a stronger mom, a fitter dad, get their first pull up. Like, it was really cool to see everyone striving to do something different, and being surrounded by those people helped pull me out of those moments.
And what do you say about the family impact of on achieving goals, having a great mindset? Because when looking at your guys' family, it seems that you guys are a family of superheroes. And I mean, your two brothers, Spencer and Saxon being ninth at the CrossFit Games 2019. It speaks a lot about you guys' upbringing. Is it that way?
Yeah, so I grew up, I have four brothers and one sister, and I grew up in a big family. And I think that when you grow up in a big family, you're constantly watching one another. And yeah, there's always going to be like the competitions between brothers and siblings, but you learn what to do and what not to do. And I think when you look at each generation after you, like I look at my brothers, Saxon and Spencer, they were able to learn everything that I learned while I was learning it. And then I was able to take those things and help them and bring them along for the, kind of for the ride. And they learned a lot through that time of like what to do and what not to do. And also it comes back to the people you surround yourself with. If you're surrounded by those types of people, that's all you know. Like my brothers, that's all they knew is you go into the gym and you work hard, and you will accomplish the things that you need to accomplish. Like in their mind, that just makes sense. And I think that mindset stems from that, and it almost becomes this culture. And I think that's how you create your culture in your community is, it starts from the top, and then it continues to kind of trickle down to everyone else around you. So if there is someone that has a poisonous kind of attitude or a negative attitude, it just finds its way out, because they feel so uncomfortable being around me that I don't put up with that. And it's the same way with them. And I think that's just like something my parents instilled in us at an early age, is how to work hard, how to be responsible for the things that you have going on in your life, how to handle adversity. Being in a big family, there was always a fire that needed to be put out. Like something was always going on, but we were able to rely on one another to take care of it. And I think, that has stemmed to be a big part of like why I have been successful, why my younger brothers have been successful, is just we learn those things from a young age, and then you surround yourself with great people.
And the adversity you're talking about, I mean, looking at the CrossFit Games seem to be, for you guys as an athlete, like a guessing game. You don't know what to expect, and you guys are expecting a lot of adversity. So how do you cope with that going into CrossFit events and workouts? You don't really know what is happening to you, especially like the paddle boards, the bikes, and everything else which awaits you at the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, it's a lot of it comes down to just how you practice and what you prepare for. And I just remember back to just different years for regionals in the games, and um, really it's a guessing game. You need to know that your training is preparing you for the things that you're going to do. And that's what gives you the confidence when you're there. And I think each year after coming back from the games, I'd always come back with something new that I needed to work on, something I needed to focus and put more effort into. But I also needed to keep doing what I was doing because it was working. And for me, it was like, fourth place, fifth place, sixth place. It's like, I don't want to change too much because what I'm doing is working. But I also need to know that the sport's going to continue to change. It's going to continue to evolve, and the test is going to continue to get more challenging. So putting myself into those situations through practice over and over. And then I had great athletes around me. My younger brothers I trained with for a while. This past year, I worked with Fee Sagafi, who had qualified for the games in 2019. So you surround yourself with these great people, and there's a time to compete as you're training, and then there's a time to train. And I think it's important to understand the difference because you can't compete all year long. And for a lot of people that are going into the gym, and we have this conversation with our members all the time, is like, hey guys, like, we're not in here to compete with one another. If you want to compete, that's like the open, that's local competitions. Like, that's our competition. This is practice. So we want to practice perfect movements. We want to put ourselves into these situations so that when we get into the open, we get into these situations, we're ready to take them on. And now all of a sudden it takes that pressure away of coming into the gym to like beat my buddy or to beat my brother, to beat Saxon. Like, I want to beat Saxon. Like, yes, I will push, but I have to make sure that I'm not sacrificing form or technique because now I'm starting to become an immature athlete, and that's not sustainable for me to compete on a regular basis. But leading up to your event, so if you're getting close to the open and that's your competition, or regionals or the games, leading up, there's a window of about 6 weeks where you're starting to like, create some workouts that are very much like events that you could see in competition. And those need to be done with an effort and intensity that you would attack those in competition, and then almost like visualizing yourself in competition doing those things. And I think that right there is one thing that's hard if you don't have the right people to push you to simulate leading up to competition. And I was fortunate enough leading up to the games over the past 8 years to have those people around me.
And how do you cope with these kind of situations, like being in the workout itself, where you really have to push yourself? And every one of us who does CrossFit, he knows the situation, being in a workout and you're totally exhausted, you're devastated, and your mind comes into play and says to you, you're exhausted, you're done, and all that kind of negative thoughts. So how do you deal with these kind of situations, being in a workout where your lungs are burning, your legs are burning, you're just totally done?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what feeling you're talking about. And when that moment happens, I almost get like, it's kind of sick, but I get like excited. I get excited because I look to my left or right, and I know the people around me are hurting. If I'm hurting, I'm like, they're hurting too. And I think like a lot of the times we get stuck in this mindset of like, oh my gosh, I'm hurting so bad, I can't go on. And now all of a sudden the test is no longer a physical test because everybody's hurting, right? So like it's becoming now the mental. This is like where the mental test actually comes in and your mental training begins. Like right when a workout starts to hurt the most is the exact moment we start to get mentally tougher. And if we can embrace that moment and kind of be aware, like, okay, it hurts really bad right now. Everyone hurts really bad. But I have two choices. I either keep going and I push through that pain and get tougher and stronger mentally in this moment, or I start to dial back until it starts to feel better again. And I think that's like kind of where that switch in our mind is like almost kind of flips. And I think that's where you start to see athletes that will excel. And it's at a certain level at the CrossFit Games, everybody is physically capable of doing just about everything that we're doing, but it almost becomes at a certain point more about who is mentally tougher. And I also think there's a point where it's like about how you approach the workout and did your training, put you in a position where you know what to do and how to do it. But I do think like mentally we are tested a lot at the games. And I think this year at the games, for the individuals, they're going to be tested. Like that mental side is really, because you're not going to be able to rely on the fans and the people that are there. It's, when we went to the ranch, there's no one cheering for you. You're running up a hillside and it's quiet. You can just hear the birds chirping and and yourself breathing.
So you're really seeking those situations where you have this conversation with your mind and to overcome this barrier.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to talk to yourself. And, one thing that I've talked to Saxon and just basically our athletes, everyone that we coach with, my brother Spencer, everyone, I talk about how you have to coach yourself. The best athletes are the best coaches because they're constantly talking to themselves too. And like a lot of people want to turn their brain off as soon as the workout starts. They're like, I just don't even want to think about it. I just want to turn the music up and I want somebody to count my reps and just tell me when I'm done. And it's like, no, like you need to be really aware of like what you're doing, how you're moving, how you're breathing. And then you're talking to yourself just like what you would want someone to coach and say to you is how you have to like be thinking during the workout. Okay, I need to breathe. Okay, as I'm throwing this ball up to this ball target, I'm going to kind of relax my arms as I catch it. On these pull-ups, I'm going to take deep breath. 1, 2, 3, back on the pull-up bar. And you're just like talking to yourself throughout the whole workout. And that really starts to change your mindset, because now all of a sudden I'm not thinking about how bad the workout hurts. I'm actually talking myself and telling myself what I need to do to finish the workout. And instead of thinking of what if I fail, I'm thinking, what do I need to do to succeed? And I think that's like flipping your mindset from this is the pain cave, this is dark, it hurts, like poor me, to hey, I get to do this. Yes, it hurts, but now's the moment. I'm getting better. This is what I need to do to finish this workout strong. And now all of a sudden you're progressing through the backstretch of this workout and your form still looks good. Because at the end of the day, it's like whoever moves the best is likely going to win. If your intensity and everything else is there, it's about coaching yourself, moving well with purpose, and those people tend to be very successful.
That's a great statement, to move with purpose. So it seems like when you do self-talk, it's more about the strategical view of it. It's not that, okay, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. It's more like, okay, I have to catch this ball like this. I have to move my barbell like this. That's how I heard that out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to talk to yourself. You have to coach yourself. And I think that, like I said, it almost distracts you a bit from what's actually happening, like the pain or the uncomfortable feeling that you're having. Like everyone has that. And like I said before, you just look left and look right and you can read it on people's faces. And workouts in CrossFit typically aren't won in the first and last round. You see people that'll come out really fast, and then you see people that'll finish really, really hard. But like it's the middle part of those workouts where I really try to focus on what I'm doing and like what are the people doing around me. And I almost like will be able to feed off of, people's pain. Like I when I see someone hurting, I want to do whatever I can to not show that I'm tired. And I don't remember who told me this in the gym. It was one of my training partners. It might've been my wife. It was somebody in our gym, and they just said, do you ever see champions bent over? Like, think of all the winners that you've seen at the CrossFit Games. Very rarely do you see them bent over or with their hands on their head or just looking tired in any way. And it's just like they may be tired and they may be feeling that way, but they don't let their body language display that. unless it's after the workout, which is perfectly fine. I think if you put everything you have into the workout, you can do whatever you need to do at the finish line. But like in the middle of a workout, you don't typically see that. And, you know, for me in wrestling, like I said, that was a sport that I played early on. You could read your opponent's body language when they would step up to the line. And if they looked tired, then you knew like it was time to like dig in. You could, you know, end this match right away. And it's kind of the same, that's like kind of the same mindset I have, where I'd look left and right and I'd see people hurting. I'm like, okay, this is my moment to go, and push. Like I'm hurting, but you know, I can keep going. I'm not hurting that bad. I'm not bent over. I'm not, you know, with my hands on my head. And I think that, that mentality is what has led me to be successful in a lot of moments in competition.
And how do you transfer that to life? I mean, that what you learn on competition floor, overcoming barriers and really seeking those hard moments. How do you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Like as you look at those same moments, and then I talk to our members about this too. Like we're training in the gym. We're training for like not just to be physically fit, but we're training mentally and emotionally to be tough. And I think these same components can carry over into our life, and we need to know that like everybody has a fight, everybody has a struggle, something that's going on in their life that may not be going well, and they can do one of two things. They can know that they're not alone and that everybody has a fight, or you have this like nobody understands, it's just me. Like everyone in this world is walking around with some type of struggle, some type of stress. And I think we need to be more aware of that as you know, in this world, is like people are hurting. Now in those moments when we are hurting and we need to seek that's that mental toughness. That's that idea of that, like, hey, I'm not the only one dealing with something. And yes, I have this going on, but this person's got this going on, and this person's got that going on, and they're still doing the things that they need to do to live their life and to make their situation better. So like it's kind of the whole like, don't stay knocked down. Like life is going to knock you down, just like a CrossFit workout. Like we've all laid on the ground after a workout and we're like, man, that workout just laid me out. Now we have a choice after that workout. We either get up and we're like, I'm going to get that workout and I'm going to do better next time. And I'm going to approach it a little differently. And I'm going to train and put myself in a situation where I can do that and be successful. It's the same way in life. Like life is going to knock us down. And some people choose to lay on the ground longer than others. But get up off the ground and know that like it's not all bad, and that there is always something that can be done to make your life better in that moment. And we can start training, and we can start creating a mindset that prepares us to not get knocked down again, or to be able to get up faster the next time. Like the first time we did Fran, I was messed up for the whole day. I laid on the ground, and then I rolled around, and then I went outside, and you know, we all remember that feeling, and I let it hurt me for a long time. Don't let life hurt you for a long time. And that's part of getting up and, you know, knowing that, you know, the pain and all of those things are eventually going to subside. They're eventually going to go away. And if we can have that mindset that the pain and those situations in life are going to disappear eventually, or they're going to subside, then we can continue to live our life. And now we're focusing on the things that are actually positive in our life. And I think that makes people happier. And I think that's what we should all be striving for, is that happiness.
So would you say that the best training for mindset is to seek those situations where you have to struggle?
Absolutely. And I think when we go in and we're deciding what our weights are, or how to scale or modify workouts, or, you know, whatever it is, we're trying to find something that we can simulate that is going to make us face some type of adversity. And I always encourage our athletes to choose one. Don't make the weight heavier and the skill harder and run a longer distance, or do the workout twice. Like, choose one thing. I'm either gonna, I'm gonna make the weight heavier today, or I'm gonna make the skill a little more challenging. And like, if it doesn't challenge you, it's not going to change you. And we want that change to happen. But we also want to have some victories along the way in those things. And I think that's part of us, like, knowing and believing in our coaching and the people that we're surrounded around that are going to help us get into the best situation possible when we're choosing those methods on how we want to take on the workout.
I think that's a great quote to take out of this interview. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
Absolutely. I can't take credit for that. I'm pretty sure that was on a poster somewhere, but I always remembered it.
That's a really good one, Scott. Before we end this interview, I have two questions for you. Feel free to answer in any way of this. When looking back, or if you could go back 15 years from now, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think if I could go back and give myself any advice, I think I would have reached out a little sooner to some people that I think could have helped me with specific things earlier on in my sport. I think as the sport started in 2012, it was so new that I almost felt like nobody really knew what they were doing, and we were trying to like figure out what to do. And I took fourth at the games, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to change much. So I just, tried to figure it out on my own. And each year I would come back and reevaluate and try to change like one or two little things. But I think that if I would have reached out to a few people earlier on, that it might have helped me, take that one extra little step to get a little closer to the podium. But, there's a lot of really great things that I think have happened in my life that have happened for a reason. So it's hard to go back and want to change anything, because I think each decision and each thing that has happened has led me to something great and a new opportunity. And that's how I've always looked at life, is that, we don't always get what we want, but we get what we need. And I think that's always been my mindset, is that I have everything that I need. And it's just about putting it all together and putting in the work and the time. And if I can do that, something great will happen.
And if we change that question around, asking you, what would you wish your career would be remembered for it in going 50 years in the future, your athletic career?
Yeah. If I could look back and just, leave my mark on the sport, I think it would be to just inspire people to do things that they didn't think they could do. And, I've had a lot of injuries playing sports growing up, and I've been told a number of times after surgery, you're not going to be able to, I've had 3 knee reconstructive surgeries. I've had shoulder surgery. I've had foot surgery. A lot of them from playing sports as I was growing up. And after each one of them, they're like, oh, you probably won't be able to squat again, or you won't be able to overhead squat or do muscle ups and those things like that. And I'm just like, yep, I'm going to prove you wrong. And I just want to inspire people to know that given any situation that you have going on in this life, that there is always something you can do. And I think we get fixated a lot of the times on everything that has been taken from us, instead of focusing on the things that we are able to do. And that's like what we can control. There's certain things in our life that we won't be able to control, but our attitude and our effort and our mindset are like all things that we have complete control over. And if we can look at the things that we are able to do, we will come out of any situation better. But if we sit down and let people tell us what we can and can't do and what we won't be able to do for the rest of our life, you're going to be miserable. So I would encourage people to go for it, continue to work hard. And I know that if you work hard and you surround yourself with great people, great things will happen.
And I think that's what you just did right now, and what we did with the interview, inspire people.
Yeah, I want to inspire people and leave my mark.
Scott, before we close this interview, do you have any advices or some words for your viewers?
yeah, my advice is just continue to surround yourself with people that make you better, and follow the lead of your coaches. Push your community members to be better, and just love one another. If anything, just love and care for the people around you, because it all gets paid forward, and it just continues to create a better community and culture.
Great words, Scott. Great words to end the interview. And where can people find you to get inspired by you more?
Yeah, you can follow me at Scott Panchik. I also have a competitor program called RX Mentality, where I put workouts out for you guys if you ever want to, give one of those a shot. But always here, and excited to continue inspiring you guys, and working to become a better version of myself.
Scott, thank you so much for this opportunity to interview you. It was remarkable. It was inspiring, and feel free always when you're here in Germany to come by and make this your place far from home. And thank you so much for your words, for your encouragement, and we wish you all the best, especially now coming up with the games. We don't really know what's happening with